All right. Okay. Now I've got to introduce you. What's your business or farm name, or what do I?
Okay, would you like me to introduce myself?
Oh, you can. Yeah, no, that has happened before when I've been stumbling like an idiot.
Hi, I'm Craig Carter. We've been here at Tallawang now for a bit over 21 years. Bit over 21 years. It was the Friday the 13th of November 2001. We drove in here, it rained and then it forgot for 5 years. We're predominantly beef producers, breeding and trading. I've only just gone back to breeding in the last 2 years because the trading margins got a little bit interesting. Have been involved in the regenerative space pretty much since the day we got here. I'm from a family that has been involved in agriculture for generations, and I did not get involved in agriculture and then came back to it in 2001. Had a few ins and outs, but was encouraged not to come back to farming, and I did. So I was the first member of the family ever to leave the land, and I'm the only one that's come back.
Wow. And how many of you?
We're shy breeders, so there's, in terms of the Carter family, there's myself, sister and brother, and my cousin who managed to make things go a bit pear-shaped, and then he's now living in Sydney, raising rugby players. And so that's it. But when we get out into the extended family, it goes for miles. And you know, I think if my brother prints out the family tree, it's kind of several A4 sheets wide in landscape. So that's us. But yeah, my main focus is holistic management. I've done grazing for profit, I've done holistic management, I've done a diploma in holistic management. Savoury Institute have kindly recognised as a field professional, and I've also been accredited as a monitor for land to market for EOV monitoring. That'll do.
That's great. Now I can ask some questions.
Yeah, sure.
What the Savoury's given you a
field professional.
A field professional title. What does that mean?
Okay, that means that not only am I an accredited educator, so I get to teach you holistic management, I've actually got my feet on the ground doing it. And of those of us that are accredited field professionals, I'm probably running a bigger agricultural enterprise than the others. The others are, I'm not taking anything away from them, they have slightly different business models. I don't do as much training as they do, or as much educating. Mostly because all of a sudden someone rings up and says, "Where are you? Can you do this?" No. Why not? Because I'm calving, because I'm, yeah. But we're doing the same. Yeah, but you got 50 cows, I've got 600. Oh. So, and building. So, you know, to me, most of the work I'm doing at the moment is mentoring. So I've got a group I'm mentoring as part of one of the rehydration programs that we were doing. I've just started with Southern Cross Uni in their RAMP program, which is Regenerative Agricultural Mentoring Program, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so how many hectares have you got here?
We've got 445 hectares in this block, and then do the sums. My total area under management is 777, so it's a really easy number to remember. We've got some lease country on the way back into town, and we run that as part of this enterprise. So I'll move cattle backwards and forwards depending on what I'm trying to do. So we'll be weaning next week, so the weaners will go over there so that they don't quite find mum as easily as they'd like to. And I've got cows and calves over there that'll come back here.
So when you say you're growing number of cattle, or you're going to expand with the hectares?
Given the price of real estate, no, I'm building my herd number, okay, with the eventual aim of potentially, you know, if I get really lucky finding a bit of inexpensive real estate, I'll probably expand that way, or other lease country.
Now, would you say you've got this property though at optimum capacity, or you've got room to expand that way?
I keep pushing the envelope on that one. When I bought it, I was told, oh mate, that block will only carry 100 cows and calves. Oh, yeah. We've got 500 odd cows up the hill there at the moment. We're preg testing in the first week in December, which is kind of really a catch-up preg test to make sure that a mop-up round went through. So all up, there's just short of 600, 700 cattle on the place. And next year the plan is to join 700. We've got cattle away on adjustment at the moment growing out, and the steers will be sold and the heifers will come, well, the better of the heifers will come back home. Most of them get a go. There's just a few that haven't developed as much as I'd like them to, so they can go.
So you're going to have 700 or 700 extra joining?
No, 700.
In total?
In total.
Yeah.
So we'll be joining in March. I join in March because I'm trying to avoid the dreaded postpartum anaestrus, where because we've got a reasonably high level of Bos indicus influence, if they're not inclined to do things, they will forget to get pregnant every year. They'd like every second year. They're not as enthusiastic about having babies. And I'm trying to discourage that sort of thinking. What we're trying to do...
totally sympathise with them.
They're not supposed to do that. What we're trying to do is to produce medium frame cattle, early maturing, that are suitable for the grass-fed market. I've sort of just getting my ducks in a row at the moment, much to the confusion or bemusement, depending on where you sit around the table, in as much as that we're using Nguni cattle and Nguni bulls. I'll have a lot of F1 Nguni bulls going out next season, which is really quite amusing because they really look like speckled parks. But it's just trying to move away from the traditional Angus cattle, and you've got to have the biggest cattle in the marketplace, because then you can go down to the pub or the coffee shop, depending whether you're Australian or American. They don't admit to drinking. I know I've just sold this magnificent great big bullock and I got $3,500 for him, and I'm kind of going, yeah, so what? How many of those did you have to the hectare? Whereas if we look at it the other way and we look at it, well, if we're carrying more cattle to the hectare, they mightn't be as big, but our profitability is higher.
Going to the labelling then, which is a little bit on the same lines as what you've just been talking about, it's kind of like that mind shift. I have no issue calling regenerative farming and grazing regenerative, because, and I came up with this the other day, we need to get to a point of sustainability, because we've obviously lost that with the way we've been handling everything, whether it's food, crops or livestock. But with regenerative, it gives us that potential and possibility to go further.
Yeah. Similarly, and there was an article in The Guardian this morning by someone who's explaining why we're having all these floods. Because the dams are full and the soil profile's full. Well, the soil profile's full because the water can only penetrate to the depth of the roots. And if the roots are only an inch deep, then it doesn't take a lot of rain to fill that profile. We've got roots here, plains grass for argument's sake, at 3 or 4 metres. So the water just flows and just keeps flowing in, and then it moves laterally. So the landscape here, we're a long way off regenerated. There's a lot more to do, and a lot of that's water cycle stuff, and there's a whole conversation in itself. But I've just started listening to What Your Food Ate by David Montgomery. Highly recommended, because this is exactly, they're discussing what regenerative agriculture is. They have, and this is the 4th book in the series. So they start out with soil, with dirt, which is Montgomery's a geologist, and he's discussing how humankind has really mucked up and turned soil into dirt. And then there's 2 other books, and then this one. And I've read all of them, and they're just a continuing story. And he's become fascinated with moving away from the geology side of things. His partner is a biologist, and they're looking at the interaction between biology and geology. And part of the conversation that I was listening to this morning was all about food density, or nutrient density in food. And they've discovered, and they've been, we've got 2 university lecturers, university professor, or one's a professor, I'm not sure what his partner is, what her level of qualification is. But they're looking at the nutrient density, and he said, what's fascinating, and this is part of this whole regeneration thing, is the nutrient density of, pick your crop, pick your fruit, your grain, your veggie, doesn't matter, is diminishing as the yield's going up. They test the soil, the trace elements are the same, the major elements are the same, the biology is not necessarily the same. And he said he cites an example of a farmer who ran a parallel experiment. I'll farm this paddock the way I've been taught to farm it by my agronomist. I'll farm this paddock the way I've heard people like Gabe Brown and whatever do it. He said the yield was pretty much the same. And then they dived into the nutrient density, and the nutrient density in the multi-species cropped, the close rotations, the and I don't think he had any livestock involved, which would have made it even more interesting. But the nutrient density in that was considerably higher, back to kind of pre-industrial ag levels, 3 years.
Wow.
So, these people that talk about the valley of death, reminds me of I have a financial markets background as well. So when Ian Macfarlane was the former governor of the Reserve Bank, gave a series of lectures in the Boyer lectures, he said we approached our changes to the way we handle the financial markets as if we were going to step off a cliff. And he said the day we got there, we're all with fear and trepidation about how hard are we going to land. And he said we just walked across a line that we had created as an obstacle in our minds. And the smallest paddock, but the most important paddock, is the one between your ears.
That's really interesting you should mention that, because every time I release a video, it's a similar thing. You get like the creativity and I get so excited and I love it and I throw myself in, and then it's just pressing that go button with regards to releasing it. I actually schedule it now, it's a lot easier, and I forget that I've scheduled it. Where was I going to go? I was going to say something about biology. Actually, yes, I can completely and utterly understand that, because I have added really good quality minerals to my paddock and it's done a good job. But if I take my mattock, not a shovel, my mattock to it, I still don't have earthworms, for example, and I think they're like A class for telling whether you've got good soil or not. What would you say?
They're part of it. If I turn over a cow pat and there's a worm in the bottom of it, happy days. However, I've got to remember that in this landscape here, and we've got to remember we're only 2 weeks away from summer. We've both got jumpers on. We forgot to have a summer last year. We didn't get much of a winter. It was a bit cool. So it's a very benign climate at the moment. And long may it rain, but it's not going. Long may it continue, not long may it rain, for God's sake, that we've had enough of that. What'll often happen here in summer is these black soils will get so hot, not so much mine because of the ground cover, but a lot of black soil gets quite hot and the worms will just move down and they'll stay with the moisture. So as the moisture goes down, they will stay with the moisture. And people say, I haven't got any worms, I haven't got any dung beetles, I haven't got any of this, I haven't got any of that. And I kind of go out there and I look at it and I think, you're taking your soil temperature lately, it's only sort of 999 in the shade, the poor bloody earthworms. So these are some of the things. The beauty with worms is you can see them.
Right, yeah.
What I like doing also is wandering around a paddock and going, there's a fungal outbreak. So there's a bit of mycelium that's stuck up a mushroom, a toadstool, call it what you will, that's expressing a bit of fungal activity, which we're kind of taught, and I'm not sure how accurately, that grasslands are bacterial, forests are fungal, and somewhere in the middle is no man's land. Well, actually, somewhere in the middle is kind of damn near perfect.
Yeah.
And then it's how you manage it for what you want, to use an holistic management term, your context. To put a twist on it, Alan Williams in the States uses the term context to actually describe the state of your land. So if you're in Wisconsin, you've got a totally different context to being in the Chihuahua Desert. Whereas here we tend to look at it in terms of the quality of life that Tamsin wants, or Tamsin's going to have, the landscape that she's going to have, the community relations, the communication, the family outcomes, the whole lot, and you're looking at that as if that's what you are going to have. You actually haven't quite got there yet, but you're going to get there. And then you start to manage, and then as you're managing, and this is a little bit of an holistic management exercise, argument, conversation, the first question you've got to ask yourself when you go and do something like this, is that really taking me in the direction I want to go, or is it going over there? That got way off track, didn't it?
No, that's good, because I'll bring it now back to the grassland with the plains grass. See, my trouble grass was Soteria. Now, I call it the trouble grass because it was imported. It's not really meant to be here. And of course, I've got horses, because my next bit was going to be the oxalate grasses, because you probably know more about this than I do. Well, in fact, I don't know anything. But my question was, does oxalate grass, like Soteria, rob the calcium out of the soil?
It depends on, the wonderful way to always start an answer is it depends. Now, what you're looking to try and do, if you've got your soil healthy, if you've got your ground cover healthy, if everything's ticking along the way that you want it to, heading in the direction you want it to go, don't worry about Soteria, don't worry about your oxalate grasses, don't worry about going and buying inputs. Because, and this is a comment I made, this is Craig Carter developed theory, and I made this at one of those rare but wonderful occasions when Gay Brown draws breath. We had the joys and pleasures of Gabe here in 2016. So actually it was around about this time 6 years ago. And as he was speaking and he was leading up to, and I thought to myself, I know exactly where he's up to. And he went, and I went, every plant has its own personal recipe. And the ingredients are in different proportions, but the air temperature, soil moisture or moisture, photo period, the amount of daylight, the amount of photosynthesis it can have going, and soil health. And Gabe just looked at me, he said, I can't disagree. He said, and to get your soil health, he goes, right, you've got to have biodiversity, you've got to have a living root, you've got to have armour on the ground, you've got to have no tillage, and you've got to have livestock integrated into your system. And then Alan Williams puts over the top of all of that, relevant to your context. So, to go back to your question, if you think about your Soteria, and Soteria really can be a pain in the butt on the coast. Think about your coastal soils. They're pretty deficient, they're pretty shallow, pretty horrible. You have to graze for what you want to achieve. And that is not grazing for getting rid of Soteria. That's grazing for plants that are going to grow in that landscape, because not only are there Soteria seeds there are also a whole raft of other native and non-native grasses, legumes, herbs, forbs, whatever you want to call them, that will, as that soil health improves, germinate and grow. And if you understand the rule of succession or plant succession, a plant will only survive in an environment when it can A, germinate, B, reproduce, and it will die out when it can't. So, for argument's sake, except for one, saffron thistles, and I'll come to that, because once the soil gets too rich for Soteria, it just goes, no, I'll wait till the next person comes along. I'm patient. I can wait till the next person comes along and buggers up all the good work that Tamsin's done, 47,000 cows to the square foot and all that sort of thing. And then bang, it's off and running again. And Cole Sice has this wonderful line about saffron thistles that I'll never forget. He said, they were put on this earth by God to teach us that we're not God.
So nothing gets rid of them?
Well, you've really got to manage it.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got a few saffron thistles, and I was having I was being monitored. My annual short-term monitoring for EOV was over there, and I'll show it to you as we go past it on the way.
So what does EOV stand for?
Ecological Outcome Verification. So part of land to market is about, and it's growing, and it's starting to grow faster than we can probably cope with it growing, but we won't go too far into that. Where it's management agnostic, which gets really interesting when you've got people who are kind of going, yeah, I can do, maybe I can't. So it's management agnostic. It's just making sure that whatever you're doing, managing your landscape, has got that plant succession, for example, on a rising plane. Your water cycle on a rising plane. Your energy flow on a rising plane. Your community dynamics, if I've got trees and shrubs and spiders and worms and fungi and blah, blah, blah. Is it all on a rising plane? If it is, you be a tick.
Oh no, we might have to edit this.
No, it's gone. Okay. So, if you've got everything on that rising plane, happy days. And so then we've got, at the moment, there's a what they call the Sheep Project, an American market they're funding a whole pile of landholders to get this tick of approval, and you go through it as a process. It's not certification, it's verification. So we're not measuring you against me, we're not measuring you against some standard. All we're doing is saying, well, you started out here, and now you're here, and now you're here, and now you're here.
I'm very pro verification.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we were doing this the other day, and I had Brian Marshall, who's Australia's senior holistic management educator. I won't call him the old fella because there's actually a couple that are older than him. But he's looking around, he's going, Craig, this is magnificent. What happened there? And he looked over, and there's a raft of saffron thistles, probably 25 feet long and about 6 feet wide. And I looked at him and I smiled and I said, we had a soil pit there as part of a workshop.
Oh, wow.
So I had a soil scientist down the hole, and that's where he likes being, in holes, deep ones. And he was busy, this was during the drought, and he was showing people, plant structures under the soil, what the pH was, structure and all that sort of thing. And then when we finished it the next day, I went back and filled it in. But that was in 2019. There still hasn't been enough recovery in the structure of the soil for anything but saffron thistles to grow.
That's amazing.
But next year, they probably won't be there.
Yeah.
Or there will be less of them. There'll always be a few, you know. They're just here to prove I'm not God.
God, that's right. I'll remember that if you know, ever
Well,
discussing
attribute it to Cole Size. Cole's got a few goodies. He's the one who developed the moron principle. You know, most farmers they farm according to the moron principle. They just keep putting more on.
Yeah. Oh, just one more thing about the thistle, because you probably will know, hopefully. Do they detox the land as well? Thistles and nettles? Or is it more about the conditions that...
Okay. Another holistic management conversation coming up here. I can see it now. Okay, we need to understand that, and I'm not attempting to be rude and insulting or whatever, but you've taken a very simplistic viewpoint of a straight cause and effect. Unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't work like that. Mother Nature has this thing called complexity. And so that if you pull that string over there, there could be a tree fall down over there, and you're kind of going, are they related? And really what I'm getting at is the thistle might be a member of a community of plants. There might be bacteria, there might be fungi, there might be other forbs, other herbs, other plants that are all utilising some of it. There's this whole concept of if you've got a copper deficiency in your country, then something with a big purple flower is going to turn up. Well, I must be very copper and sulphur deficient because I've only got purple and yellow flowers. But I think it's the complexity of it rather than just trying to say, oh, look, if I do that, that'll happen. Because it won't. You've got no guarantees of that. And that's why quite often you'll see us talking about things being safe to fail. So if I want to do, as I've done up in one of the gullies here, put some banks in to see that I can make the water go and reconnect the old flow lines, I don't go and do the whole gully because that's going to cost me gazillions. So I'll go and do 2 or 3 banks and watch like buggery. You know, it's a bit like put all my eggs into one basket and watch that basket. And then, if it worked, then I might go and put some more in. And I'm now sufficiently confident, for argument's sake, as I said earlier, I'm supposed to have an earth mover here. Earth movers are earth movers. They turn up when they can be bothered.
Well, wet, really.
Yeah, well,
it's
going to be dry enough for him by about Friday to be able to get here, get the job done, and hopefully get out of here before the next onslaught. But yeah, you've got to allow for that complexity. And the more biodiversity, the more arthropods, the more biology of any sort, doesn't matter whether, you know, I am a great believer in you need predators in a natural environment. So all the people that are anti-dingo tend to get my whiskers a little twisted. And I've grown up with dingoes and cattle and all that sort of thing. You know, they only take the sick ones and the lame ones. But someone's got a better story, always.
I'm glad you brought that dingo thing up because I'd forgotten that. Yeah, that was really intriguing for me. And I met a young guy up at a Kandanga farm store. I meet everybody there because they hold these amazing events. And he was actually killing wild dog. And the knock-on effect that he observed from doing that was way more detrimental than allowing the wild dog to stay living. And what he actually said was, with observation, they weren't killing the young that were healthy. They were actually, what's the word?
Detoxifying? Killing all the sick ones?
Well, yeah, basically. They were taking advantage of the fact that there were sick ones around.
Watch any of David Attenborough's grassland savanna environments where you've got a herd of wildebeest and the hyenas are just keeping them on the move. And what are the hyenas eating? The sick, the lame, the old, the dead.
Very young.
The very young, but the very young that mum's not paying attention to. So that very young isn't going to survive anyway. And what we really struggle, people have these, because they have this desire, this natural instinct to simplify things because that's human nature. Wedge Tailed Eagles, for argument's sake. And I love Wedge Tailed Eagles. I can tell you some very funny stories about them here. But I had a neighbour that used to shoot them because he had sheep. He got rid of the sheep, so he stopped shooting the eagles. And all of a sudden we have a resurgence of Wedge Tailed Eagles. And I remember 6 or 7, might be 8 years ago, driving out the drive, and this hare came zoom, straight between my front wheels. And I looked up, and there's this little head poking up out of the grass, kind of going a bit like a periscope.
Yeah.
You know, and you look up, and there's my mate up there being harassed by the magpies. And I thought, what? And I looked up, and there's this obviously juvenile wedge-tailed eagle, much smaller than the normal ones, really got all the light tan feathers and all the patterning that the young guys get.
Yeah.
And these, it's just over there is a magpie nest that's been there for 20 odd years. And the male is, or was, he's probably dead now, he's probably been taken out by someone, not me, but I was getting tempted. Really aggressive, because it's only the odd male that gets really aggressive.
Oh.
They're the swoopers. And these guys are giving this eagle curry because they don't want it to, you know, they're taking the simplistic attitude to life. Anyway, the eagle found a way to, her way to the branch, and boom, I'm on the branch now, leave me alone. And as soon as it got on the branch, little mate down in the grass went, and the pair of them are sitting there kind of facing down these magpies, you know, go away, we're tough. And it's really, I think I might have seen one of them maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago. A pig had been flattened on the other side of the ridge. And there's this pig carcass in the middle of the road, and there's half a dozen crows, half a dozen foxes, and an eagle sitting on it. This is mine.
No way.
Oh yeah. So we need apex predators in our environment.
We absolutely do. Yeah.
And I don't think our Indigenous community want to be regarded as being the apex predator anymore. Because that was their gig here for a long time. That was part of, as man, we are an apex predator. That's why our eyes point that way. And we've got canine teeth. That buggers up the vegan theory, doesn't it?
Just a little bit. All right, well, thank you very much. Unless there's anything else to add, that was a great story to finish on, because obviously Wedge-Tailed Eagle for Farming Revolution.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and this afternoon with me, because we're going to go and film a bit around the farm, which I'm really looking forward to. But if I had a drone, I would be able to get better footage, apparently. So, right, that's it. I've got to be ticking that for Christmas, that box.
And then go and find someone who, it's just hours of practice getting you. Because I've got a bit of drone footage that I've taken, and it's all right for me because I know what I'm looking for, but I sort of showed it to Nigel, this cameraman mate of mine, Nigel, this morning, and he's kind of looking at it, he just floated off. And I thought, well, hang on, you haven't seen the good bit yet. And so, you've got to, and then it comes back to editing. Yeah,
that's it. And you know what you can use, and I know exactly what Nigel's talking about. Anyway, thanks very much.
It's all right.
Great chat.
All the best. Right.